What's up, HyperFast Agent Nation? On this episode of the podcast, we got a special guest. He's actually a repeat guest. He's been on the HyperFast Wealth Show. Today, though, he's going to be dishing out some great advice for real estate agents if they want to work with investors, and he's the man to do it because he is both. So welcome back to the show, Chris. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Dan. Glad to be in person this time and not over Zoom.
Yeah. First episode we did, of course, was on Zoom. Today, it's nice to be in this studio. We got the TVs, the whiteboard, everything.
Yeah. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, so it's been a big Zoom world, obviously. Before we dive into what real estate agents should think about, when they work with investors like you or other people.
Right.
What have you been seeing with COVID-19 and the lockdown and all that kind of stuff? How's that affected, what you're doing as an investor, what you're seeing agents doing?
So, the first 2 to 4 weeks, I think everyone was kind of freaking out, like trying to figure out what was going on, how it was going to affect, the market over the next 6 to 12 months. And so, a lot of lenders stopped lending money. I was scared that the projects I was holding and developing, that their ARVs were plummeting overnight. So that was the initial phase. I think after 2 to 3 weeks, that all kind of slowed down, and confidence rebuilt, and lenders re-entered the market. And I know at least in DC, where all my projects are, prices are really high, and the demand has just skyrocketed because all the sellers who didn't need to sell, that didn't want people walking through their living room, 5-6 times a day, they pulled, their listings off. So inventory dropped, demand stayed with the low interest rates. And, I've listed 2 properties over the past 4 weeks now, listing a third one tomorrow. Already getting a couple off-market offers, and the first 2 went under contract in the first week. So.
Multiple offers? How did that turn out for those first 2?
Multiple offers on one of them,
Okay.
Yep. And it went over the asking price. So, from what I'm seeing right now, the market's red hot, which is great when you're selling properties, obviously.
Yeah, it's great to be operating in the DC market. It's as you know, very resilient. The price points that we're at really are driven by these high-paying jobs driven by the federal government and commercial industries as well attached to that. So, even though some areas, some sectors across the country had very bad results in terms of unemployment, people losing their jobs, businesses shutting down, we're not seeing that
right
in, for the buyers that are buying the types of properties that are the ones we're selling, the ones we're developing. So yeah, overall, I've seen that as well. This, sellers taking their homes off the market, potentially, and the demand, not changing that much. This imbalance of inventory to demand is only probably strengthened, I would say, where in favor of sellers. So,
right.
Our projects that we brought to the market on this sold pretty fast, and I know our agents are seeing multiple offers on a lot of properties. Competition's hot,
right?
And for a while, a week or 2, it was a little, there was kind of like a pause, and some of these lenders were backing out, and hard money got harder to get.
Hard money, yep.
Investors saw the stock market go down, and that freaked some people out. Other people wanted to save powder, I think, to buy stocks on the low. So, overall, I would predict that would make this supply imbalance, even more drastic because less less projects are probably going to start because some developers had to hit the pause button on bringing new projects to the market.
Yeah, I know that I've financed my deals a number of ways. I use hard money a lot of times. I have 3 or 4 different lenders. I like to use 3 of them pulled out. They were like, probably starting mid-March. They're like, we're hitting the pause button. We're not even considering new loans until the end of April. So they took almost a 5-week pause. The one lender that was still operating, I typically pay 8% and 2 points for my hard money loans. The only loan I was able to get was 13% interest and 3 points.
Oh wow!
At like a 65% LTV.
That's a lot more.
Yeah. So a lot lower LTV and a much higher cost to it. So.
But if you're still able to get your projects financed and to closing 6 to 12 months from now, you should be reaping the benefits and doing pretty well.
Yeah, it was a good enough deal where the numbers still made sense.
All right, well, let's jump into how realtors can work with investors, get more investor business. I know you got probably tons of thoughts on it, but let's just boil it down to like 3 things.
Okay.
This would be a short episode. Like, what are 3 things you think real estate agents can do to either, meet investors and get their business, or do a better job and get more of their business?
Right. So I guess to meet investors, one of the big ways obviously is going to meetups, right? So I don't think it's as big among real estate agents, but among real estate investors, there's a ton of meetups. I know you run one locally. There's probably a handful of other ones locally where there's all different levels of investors. So you have the new guys who are trying to learn, but there's also a ton of investors there with a lot of experience, where you can meet, several, probably go to one each week and you meet 10 new investors at each one. So that's a great way to meet them, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip, and that's like free to do. These meetups usually don't cost anything. Maybe some charge a nominal fee, but most don't. We don't at ours, and most of them meet once a month, but there's lots of them locally. So you could get on a rotation where you're doing one a week, and at each one you meet 5 to 10 people that are investors or developers, or no investors and developers, right? So you could expand your database, and if you go to those and really work them and do the networking, and don't just like stick the business card in your pocket and forget about it, like actually follow up and with the people you want to, and book a coffee or a phone call or whatever. Like, you could really add to your database and meet a lot of investors. So I think that's a great tip that
and
anyone can do.
On top of that, on top of meeting the investors at the meetups, you're going to learn something too. You're not going to learn how to become a billionaire real estate investor, but you're going to learn the basics where you can at least then have an intelligent conversation with them, use some of the terms, and kind of show them that you know what you're talking about and could actually help them.
Yeah, that is another good benefit of going to the meetup, is just becoming more educated on the basic terms, basic processes, current trends,
how to evaluate deals, stuff like that.
What else? So, meetups, 2 more ways that people, real estate agents can either meet investors or get their business. What should they do?
The way I've always kind of focused what I do, obviously there's a ton of activities that go into, real estate investing, real estate development, but I kind of boil it down to my 2 biggest and most important activities are finding deals, number 1, and then raising money. So, real estate agents could obviously help finding deals. If they're plugged in with their market, they probably know a ton of other agents, talk to those agents, see if they have anything off market that's distressed. That could be a good investment opportunity. I guarantee if you present an investor with an off-market opportunity, you'll have them as a client forever. Obviously finding deals, and they don't even have to be off-market. There's deals on the MLS if you want to take the time to go through those deals and show them which ones might have the most potential. Maybe help even pull comps and ARV. All that stuff is super helpful.
Yeah, that's a good point. On because everyone thinks like, oh, it has to be off market, but there's thousands of listings on the MLS. Some of them are a good deal for investors, you just have to take the time to pour through them, analyze them, and
Right.
present good ones and why. And off-market deals, of course, are usually the best, but not always. So if you can find more ways to build, off-market lists to present to investors, and I think if you're going to present them good deals, going back to the meetups and learning how to analyze deals, you're going to have to do that. So you got to, meet with the investor, determine their criteria. Like, are they looking for a quick flip? Are they looking for a new construction? Are they looking for something to subdivide and get more density on? Are they looking for buy and holds?
Right.
What is this person's criteria? Right. You got to figure that out. Figure out how to analyze it, and then go find it and give it to them. It's one of the most basic marketing principles in the world. So if you can figure that out, you're going to get commission on the front end, commissions on the back end, and potentially, that all of the deals that investors doing.
Right. Yeah, I forgot to ask about make sure you know their criteria at first, obviously, right? Like, the type of deals you're looking for are different than the type of deals I'm looking for. So when you're talking to an agent or, a bird dog or someone, you're gonna be like, I'm looking for condo deals in DC where I can build, 5 units plus. Me, I'm more so looking for primarily single family homes, maybe a, 2-unit condo conversion, something like that. So definitely knowing their criteria is a big key as well. And then the second thing I said was, raising money is my second most important activity that I do. And we live in Arlington, right outside DC, where people have a lot of money in this area, right? So if you're an agent working with some high-end buyers or sellers, talk to them about, hey, I also work with investors that are always looking for people to, invest in their deals. They pay, typically 15% returns. Is that something you're interested in? If you brought them a deal and you brought them someone who wants to put up the equity in that deal, that's just a turnkey operation, and there's not many agents that provide that service. So if you could do that, that would be, set you steps above anyone else.
Yeah, that's a great point. The developers' two biggest constraints from a lot of them are access to deals, access to the money to get the deals, and if there's a ton of ways that other outside people can invest or partner with a developer. Right. With someone doing a flip, like, they can get equity in the project. They can do it as a note. There's a lot of different ways. Make sure you're doing it the proper way. So
right.
Make sure it's meets the legal requirements, of course. So do your due diligence on how to do that.
Yeah.
But that's really just networking, connecting with people. And once you get in with a couple people from like one group or one type, a lot of times it'll spread, because they'll tell their friends, like, hey, I put money in Chris's deal. It gave me 12% or 15%. The stock market maybe just went down 20, 30%. Like, their friends are gonna say, oh, okay, can you let me know about his next deal? Or right. So it can multiply, and it's really one of the most valuable things you can do for a developer. Like, if you can not only bring him the deal, but bring him some money to help finance it,
right,
you're going to command loyalty.
Yeah, like you said, it grows pretty quickly by word of mouth. And I also, like, if you're an agent that has, that's been doing well, you might have some money, and hey, you're going to lend it to, a developer that, you found the deal, it's a good deal. So you could obviously do that as well.
Yeah, all great advice, all great tips. Like, go to those meetups, find deals, find money, learn how to analyze the deals, educate yourself. You do that, you're going to get more investor clients, guaranteed. Before we wrap up, Chris, what are you most excited about in the next 6 to 12 months? What does your business look like? What's going to happen here?
Yeah, so the whole hot market thing has kind of hit me at a good time. Like I said, I listed 2 properties over the past month, 1 more tomorrow, and I probably have 5 or 6 more coming out this summer. So, hoping the market stays that hot, that's exciting for me as well. And then also, I do think there will be some buying opportunities. So going to be looking for a lot of, discounted, distressed deals probably sometime in the fall to winter, once we see some more repercussions of, you know, the pandemic hitting, you know, that next level.
All right. Well, it's a lot being thrown at us right now, but I, you know, like I've said before on this show and others, like if you keep focused, keep calm, you know, pay attention to the things you can control, not the things you can't, you will do well. Thanks for being on the show, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the HyperFast Show. Subscribe to us if you want to make sure you get the latest and greatest HyperFast shows. And remember, we love reviews. Reviews help us bring better and better guests and improve our shows. So give us the good, the bad, and the ugly. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around to the end. I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you want to see more, click right here. And if you want 100 real estate tips from my best-selling book, click right here to download them instantly. And if you're new to this channel, click below to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you don't miss out. And leave some comments about what you think on the videos. I read them all each week, and I select winners to give out hats, shirts, coaching calls with me, and tickets to some of our events. I'll see you next time.